Hi, welcome. I'm Rachel Costello. I'm so honored to have everyone here today for our Mama Frequency Call. I'm excited for the lineup of mamas that we have sharing today and just coming together in this collective hope for raising um, nourished children who are centered in their nervous system, grounded in the nervous system, and really that starts with us, right? Like our nervous system directly correlates to how our baby's nervous systems develop and are nurtured. And so I couldn't be happier to be here with these women sharing this beautiful technology today. And to get started, I just want to take a moment to ground and um, set our intention today. So I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you, or unfocus your gaze and start to notice your breathing, taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth again. And this time taking a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Imagining a million tiny raindrops of gold that are falling from the sky, creating this beautiful light around us, anchoring us here in the present moment. Imagining those tiny little raindrops as they fall on our body, penetrate our bodies in a way that the light and the healing energies goes anywhere that our body needs in this moment. And just seeing those areas relax even deeper into your seat. Falling all the way, these raindrops coming into the ground, the Mother Earth, as we ground even further into the frequency of the earth. Holding this beautiful space at our heart center, coming together as mothers who maybe want to take a moment to recognize that there are lots of mothers right now who could use hope in the world. Lots of children who could also use hope and nervous system healing. And just in any way that is comfortable for you, sending out a message of peace and hope and a moment of silence for anyone who needs it today. And then coming back into our present moment, our bodies, thanking ourselves for taking the time to be here and acknowledging that we are energy and we're collectively always kind of reading the energy around us within our bodies, within our environments, and just giving thanks for this beautiful way that we get to move in the world. Taking your hands together, rubbing them together, creating warmth in your hands, and then putting those warm palms over your closed eyes, inhaling fully, exhaling completely, and then you can remove your hands away. Thank you. And now I'm going to bring Jessie on first. Jessie Griffiths is this beautiful woman and friend and partner of mine, and she's going to share a little bit today about what we're even talking about today. What is mama frequency? What's Healy?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here, and what a beautiful intention, Rachel. Thank you for that. So we are here talking about Healy, and Healy is a handheld wearable frequency device. It works on the physical, emotional, mental, energetic level. It has the ability with a quantum sensor to scan our energy and our bioenergetic field and pinpoint what is out of balance or disharmonious. And it can then create targeted frequencies to bring harmony to whatever is out of balance. And again, that being physical, emotional, mental, energetic. Um, you know, I always come back to the Einstein quote, the future of medicine is the medicine of frequencies. And I just wanted to share that this isn't really a new thing. It's new right now in our time. And I think it's new right now in our time because it's so needed right now. And our consciousness is indeed raising right now on the earth. But frequency as a modality has been around, since the early 1900s, but of course our medical system does suppress it. We can all imagine why, but it is here now, and it is available now to be in every home, which is amazing. What I love about it is it's non-invasive, it's holistic, it's a unbiased way, and we'll learn more about what I mean by that through all our shares. But it's an unbiased way to see what's actually going on. And yeah. And the way we receive it, one of the ways is through microcurrent. And microcurrent, when we bring frequency into our physical body, it mimics our human circuitry. And we actually are raising our cellular health. We're like recharging our batteries. It does a number of beautiful benefits. We can also receive it through a coil, which is this extra little device here, so this is the Healy, which brings it into our bioenergetic field. And then we can also receive it through scalar waves, which we'll be talking about in depth through this call, which means that we're just bringing it into our information field. So when we're talking about our bioenergetic field, we're talking about our information field and everything that it holds. And as we all share all of these little pieces I'm talking about will kind of be more revealed and more understood. So yeah, that's what we're talking about today, and how this little device is affecting us as mamas and in turn our families, and how we're sharing it with our families. So yeah, I think Rachel, you're going to share first. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to hear what you have to share with us.
Thank you, Jessie. That was such a beautiful description. And we all have our unique frequency, a blueprint that we're born with. And then life happens and we adapt to stressors and we adopt stress responses. And other dramas and traumas happen to us in our life. And this is why I personally decided to get Healy. I was for myself. I was being coached by this beautiful woman, Bonnie, who gave me this multiple choice test, which I guess has been used for a long time, but I can't remember the name of it. But it showed what frequency I was operating at, like during normal times, and where I was during times of stress. And what was revealed to me was that I was living in this very like heart-centered, like more higher vibrational space in a regular life. And then as soon as a stressor would come into my life, I would automatically go down to the lowest level. And I was like, oh, this is probably why I feel so incoherent in my life, because this is where I am. And this is where I am in a stress response sense. And the more I started just really reading about this stress response state, reading about these stress triggers, I realized that this actually was a pattern that I learned from my mother. And it wasn't even mine. Her life was a lot more stressful than mine, which is why it felt so weird to me, because my life is actually not very stressful, thankfully. I don't have a lot of stress in my life. And I also do a lot of self-care, and I take really good care of myself. And, luckily my family is here and they're whole and they're healthy. And like, I have so many positives in my life, which made a lot of sense of like why I felt so incoherent. So I had adopted her stress pattern, and I could clearly see that this was like something that I needed some like some deeper support with, because like I said, I was doing all the things and I recognized that these stress patterns didn't really make sense for me. So my friend Tiffany was actually sharing about how it was helping her through some of this heal emotionally. She had done all this physical work, but she couldn't really get to the emotional component in her healing. And I've also heard about people who like saved their kids' appendix with this device. And I heard people like, this is the best nervous system support that I've ever experienced. And so I was like, okay, I want to have the best tools in my family. Like, that's what I'm all about. I'm going to, the best. So what happened was, within that first week for me, everybody's different with their timeliness of how things happen with them in the Healy. But within that first week of me using the microcurrent, which is actually, on your body, I completely felt that stress response melt away, and I haven't felt it since, which is, I feel like so much more coherent. I feel like so much more me because I don't have that anymore. So the other thing that was really amazing is, I don't know how you guys do or how you are in your life, but I love getting like any kind of self-care energy work done, but I have 2 kids and we're a busy family and I don't always make the time and space for it. And so when I do have a day off, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have scheduled something. And now it's like I have this healing, like this energetic device at my fingertips at all times, which is the whole idea, is like we get to be we don't have to outsource so much. We can really take this into our own hands and have it into our family. So that's like my most favorite thing. But I could share all day. I won't, but this has been such a blessing for so many things. But the biggest thing lately, because I've had this for a little, like over a year now, the biggest thing lately is that I decided to start running the aura scans for our family. So I was running them for myself for a while. And then I learned on a call that if we really want to work on something chronic, we need to run it, a few times a day and for a month. Like, right? We don't just like automatically just get to cut something out of our like imprints or our generational imprints. Sometimes it happens fast, and sometimes there's some deep stuff in there that we need to go into. And so my daughter was really struggling with her relationship with her dad. And my husband's awesome, but the first year of her life, he was deep into his alcoholism, like so deep that we didn't even know really how, I mean, I had a newborn, so I really didn't know. And he became sober when she was 1, which is amazing, but he did it all on his own. So that first year of his sobriety was like kind of tumultuous. It was actually like a little bit harder even, because he was like, he didn't even know who he was. He couldn't even, like, he had been drinking for so long that he didn't even know who he was or what he liked without alcohol in his life. So it was just like, it was such a weird time. And, her and I bonded together, but it was really like, she only had me. I was her number one for everything, because he had enough to function to like luckily keep our house financially stable, but that was like about it, right? He was kind of max on like how much he could hold at that time in his life. And so, like I said, I was all she had, and she just really honestly never liked him. And not like she didn't want to be with him, it was like, it was always so hard when I had to leave, and she would, which made me feel so bad, mama guilt, like you're just like, I actually have to like go somewhere by myself, And I remember reading her a book about like a family that had 2 moms, and she was like, Mom, we could have a family with 2 moms. Like, I'm telling you, this was like a deep wound for her, that she did not feel connected to him, no matter how much he played with her or took her to fun outings, no matter how much family time. Every time I would have to leave them together, she would feel sad and actually just kind of want to be by herself. And she's super social. So I just knew there was something really deep. So she's 6 now. So a couple months ago, I started running the aura frequencies for her. And this function scans the energy body to see which main area, which main energy centers of the body are out of balance or maybe in a lower frequency. It also shows you which ones are like vibing high. So it gives you a lot of information about like what's going on. And every time it's like, yep, okay, yep, I can see that. Holy crap, this thing knows me better than I know myself. Or just reflecting what we know. But the thing about it too is it can see like what's really clear, but also what's kind of hovering in the closet, what's like really going on behind the scenes that we're not maybe like super aware of yet. So I did hers, and her scan, I just wrote it. I found it. I went back and found it for this call, and it said a lack of fatherly love was experienced because the father was not available with his love. And when I read that, I was like, yeah, that's exactly how she perceived the first 2 years of her life, which is really, if you think about it, a third of her life. Huge, right? Is like he was not available with his love because he didn't love himself. I mean, right? He was just in this space of like trying to figure out who he was. So the desired state description then that came up as like some as the frequency to send my little daughter to her information field, like Jessie described, was I have received enough fatherly love and I feel nourished. And I started running these frequency daily at the 3 times. And so if you think about like, I don't have time to run these things 3 times in my family, you do. You know, I make it a self-care practice. I run it before my kids get up in the morning when I stretch and just breathe. I run it out at a rest time every day, and I run it when my kids are in bed. So like you can find time to run this. And also there's so many ways to use this. Don't let that freak you out. But I just started. I was like committed. If I run this for a month, what will happen? And within 10 days, I had to go to work, and I said, Indra, you're going to be home with your dad and your brother tonight. I'm heading out to work. And she jumped into my husband's arms and screamed, yay. And like, my husband and I looked at each other and we're like, okay, this has literally never happened in our life. Like, this is not something that happens, right? So I was kind of like, is this going to be for real? Like, is this too good to be true? And I just kept running. I kept running the whole month, and we just kept going with it. And I can say that this deep wound for her is healing. I will say healing because for a while it was like totally gone on her field. And then when I scanned just a little bit ago, it said this is being further realized that she can feel nourishment for her dad. So she's still like, her nervous system's still like, okay, I'm feeling this. Is this safe? Right? So I'm still supporting her with this. So the information in the scans of the coach and my aura are the favorite. I do actually utilize the microcurrent for our physical bodies as well for like acute illnesses, but mostly I use this like information field that's more of the mental and kind of like energetic realm a little bit more. However, like my daughter just like totally bashed her face yesterday on the playground. And so I did put the gold frequencies, which is called care. It's just like, it's literally like a hug, like that. Anytime that anybody needs this, like a little love and care, that program is so amazing. And the coil, which Jessie was talking about, is like the only thing that's actually approved for young children to use is this information field. And every time I'm like, okay, how do you feel? Should I turn it up? Is it good? And she can feel it. She's like, yep, that's where it needs to be. So it's kind of cool to like teach our kids and to be like aware of how they are feeling in their own body, right? Instead of like all the outside stuff. So I can share all day. I'm gonna just share one more thing briefly, and because I want to bring my other women on here to share, but I also run these frequencies for the aura like with my partner and I, which is so beautiful because our marriage, we've been together 15 years. We've been through a lot, as you can imagine. And I was like feeling like we were like, I'm like this frequency fairy over here who's like feeling all these things. And he's kind of like, he's a little bit more matter, if you can imagine. And so I wanted to kind of connect us energetically a little bit. And so using the aura scans for our marriage and just kind of like energetically aligning us has been so amazing. I've been doing that for just like a couple months, and I actually ran a scan today. It was time for us to run the scan today, and it said our top two where this person or couple feels deep joy more and more often, and this couple is able to accept intimacy with other people. And I just want to say, because like a lot of times some stuff can come up that you're like, oh my gosh, I need, like, yeah, that's a lot I need to work on, but it actually shows you like where you are improving also, or like, and which just reflects like, I already knew that, right? But now I'm just like deepening it with continuing this work. And so thank you for listening. I'm forever grateful for this device. We're going to hear from Jesse next, and then Kelsey. And thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to pass it over.
Thank you for that very beautiful and personal share. Yeah, so let's see where to begin. I've been using Healy for coming on a year this month, and I originally, pardon me, I originally decided to make the leap through hearing Rachel actually talk about some of those energetic shifts she was experiencing. And I actually was like, wow, my husband needs this, which I think a lot of us do. We bring it in actually. I think as mamas too, we tend to be like, we're caregivers, right? So we want to, my husband needs this, my kids need this. So I started using it, and right away, the first thing, and Rachel said it too, and I have heard this from so many people who use Healy, is it's like this returning to yourself. I suddenly felt myself again, like I did back in my 20s. Like I was just like feeling like this particular creatrix energy that I haven't felt in quite a long time. And I was just like awed by that. And again, I just see this repeatedly. And what I think this is this like regulating of our nervous system that Healy kind of naturally does just through using it. Through, we begin with this program called Pure, and it's literally purifying our bioenergetic field, and it's kind of removing and harmonizing what is currently there that's kind of static. And I think that's my intuitive read on like why we initially have this feeling of like returning to ourself. And then it goes, I'm sorry, all of a sudden I'm having like and then there's this other piece of these layers that we start to unwind, which I'll go into, but I want to talk briefly about, that was the first thing I felt. The second thing that I really was working on was, initially too, I was like, well, I was like, I don't really need a Healy. I don't really have a lot of pain. This was like me before I got Healy. But then I realized, because I thought maybe that would be like what could be Healy is used for, right? Because it is for pain management, as well as depression and other kind of emotional conditions. Like it is FDA approved in America for those things. And my goodness, I'm sorry. I realized that I do have pain. I actually have I had chronic pain in my wrists. I'm an artist, and I was actually a tiler for a number of years, and I was called the grout goddess. I was like, and when you grout, you're constantly squeezing sponges. That's what my team lovingly called me. And I actually had developed intense tendonitis in my wrists. I, for years, had to wear braces on my wrists. And that was maybe 10 years ago now, or maybe even more at this point. But I still had it. And after I had my son, who is now almost 2.5, after I had my son, and from holding him around 4 or 5 months, the pain returned, and I was having to sleep with braces. I was, taking all the things like turmeric and doing all these things, like trying to figure out how to do it. It was really affecting how I could play with my son and hold him and nurture him. So I started doing the pain protocols on my wrists and kind of thumb area. And if you're a mom, you probably know that it is a thing called mommy wrist. It literally is a thing that we tend to get. I went through the protocol, which meant I used it a couple times a week, and then I tapered it down to basically a couple times a month. Now I don't even use it. and I have zero pain in my wrist. And to me, this is just like, and my son is only heavier and loves to be held. So I'm, it's not like I'm just doing it less and it's that could explain it. Like I'm holding him just as much and playing with him just as much, and I have no pain in my wrist. So I'm so grateful for that. So physically, I use it. I run the scans and it's amazing what it tells you. It's like, oh my goodness. And I can run those frequencies that are created to support like different organs or meridian systems. But then I also, it informs me also like, oh, okay, like maybe I need to support my liver in this way, or maybe I need to, you know, take some herbal regime to help support that. So it's like for lack of a better term, it's like a diagnoser, right? It gives us that. That's what I was talking about, that unbiased feedback that we can, and this is why I call it sovereign healthcare, because I can use it to determine what my body is needing, what my family is needing. And that being said, because, I do have a 2-year-old who is, his language is developing, but he's, for lack of a better term, he's nonverbal, especially when he was a baby. And your baby might be fussing and you don't know what's going on. Well, I can run a scan and see, and I can vibrate the frequencies. And I want to now get into a little bit more of what Rachel was talking about. She likes to use the aura analysis. So we're talking about this other portion of Healy, which works in the information field. It's what we call the Blue app. I do use the aura as well, but there's a couple of other things that are more my favorites. And with my son, I love using, there's actually, so things that are vibrational medicine could be like flower remedies, homeopathy. We can go into other things like Reiki and sound and all these different ways we use frequency. It's we ourselves are frequency, right? So I find with my son, I love running the Bach flower remedies. He can be kind of having a little meltdown, and if I can access my phone at that time and I start running just a minute I run a scan on the remedies, it is amazing what it'll say too. It's like to the T, it's like, oh yeah, this is definitely probably what's going on with him. And I see him soothed. It's amazing. Like if we're on a car trip and it's like a longer trip and he's having a hard time, I'll run those frequencies to him. It is amazing how soothed he can become. It's just, and like Rachel said, she called herself a frequency fairy. I feel that way as well. I kind of call myself a frequency fairy within my family. And now I want to get into what I really love is the coaching analysis. And Rachel mentioned it, but the coaching analysis is another portion, another database within the Healy where you can put in an actual goal. So I might put in a goal that says something like, I'm so grateful now that I am such a calm and effective mother. Might be something as simple as that. Something that you're working towards, something that you want to bring into your life. And we put it in like a positive term that it's already happening. And then what it does is it scans. So there's this quantum sensor, which Healy is the only device on the earth currently that has this particular technology. It in real time scans my information field, and there's a number of categories that it pulls from, and it pinpoints which ones are vibe and high, I'm good on, and which ones are where I need support. And then I can choose those lower ones, like 1 or 2 of them. And I can then run a deeper scan on those particular categories, and it pulls out what is it within my field that is disharmonious, which is in a way holding me back from achieving that goal. So it then gives me like the reason, and then it gives me an affirmation. It also is like, this is where your mind goes like, phew. It also will tell you like the relevancy of how it is in your life. Like, is it ready to be released? Are you currently working on it? Is it suppressed? Is it in your subconscious? Is it rooted in like wrong action, wrong thinking? Is it from something in this life? Is it something handed down from your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors? Is it karmic? It goes that deep through the coding. It is, like I said, it's like literally that emoji with the head exploding. It really is. It's like, how does this thing know me? And this is also why I call it my little pocket therapist. And Rachel kind of mentioned this too. Like, I'm someone who, I love the holistic world, but I'll admit, I personally I have not utilized it. I'm not someone that goes to a chiropractor. I don't have, I don't even go to a doctor. Really. I don't go to Reiki. I don't do those things. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying I'm someone that hasn't done it. And I'll get a little deeper into probably why I haven't. But those things also are healing and support you in your healing. Because that's the thing. We are the healer. We're the one that's doing it, but we have these supports that help us. But Healy has been that for me. It has been this support in a way that physically, but also it's like my little therapist. It's because it's unbiased. It's literally calling you on your bullshit. And for me, I have a lot of it. And like, I think we all do, but my personal story is that I do have a long history of behavior patterns that have not been healthy. And on so many levels, and it's stuff that I know about and I've been working on and unwinding. But it's like I continually feel stuck. So using the coach through getting this analysis, doing my own introspection, running those frequencies to myself several times a day. I also have my pattern. I run them when I'm making breakfast, I run them when I'm making lunch, and I run them when I'm making dinner. Rachel has her particular routine. You find your routine. I send them to myself. I send them to my husband. I send them to my son, because we all have coach running for all of us, as well as I also love the creative homeopathy is another frequency program database that I love working with, because these things are frequency. Healy has taken them and made them into frequencies that we can then share via this technology. It's just really wild and beautiful. And so because of this, I've had this unwinding of these patterns that are long held. And, so I recently saw a prompt that said, what are your 3 words for 2023? And I got my Healy actually I bought it on December 31st last year. So I got it in January. So I'm literally coming on a year. And my 3 words, when I really sat with it, was escape. Because truly at the beginning of 2023 and years before, I was constantly wanting to escape the moment. And I think this is so true of many of us, right? It's like it's hard to be in the moment, and we often numb and disassociate, whether that's like, whatever your thing is, whether it's, overeating or overspending or over scrolling or over.
Jesse, are you there? Is she frozen for you too, Kelsey? Okay. Thank you, Jesse. That was amazing. I'm gonna pass it over to Kelsey because you are frozen right now, if you can hear us. So I'm gonna replace the pin and we will see if you come back. Okay, that was amazing. I can feel her energy and like her enthusiasm and all of this. Jesse, are you back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
You just froze.
It disappeared for a minute. Okay, so my second word is reclamation. I came back. There's this like coming back to myself that I feel like has happened. And then my third word is embodiment. I have over the years done some coaching work where I've had mentors, and I've envisioned what I want for me and what is my highest like residence I want to be in. And it was always this like, I just want to be like, and I would say that I want to be not feeling like I want to escape my moment. I want to be embodied, my soul embodied. And I personally do have a story of trauma. I have a history that there's a reason why I have these behavior patterns. And it's been clear in Healy. And the thing that continually comes up for me with healing is self-love as a root. This lack of self-love. It's amazing. It'll come up like multiple times within one scan. And it's amazing to see it, as Rachel said, because you can see in the coding how it's becoming more and more of a thing that's working through me. And I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my relationships. And for me, this is what my mama frequency is. This has made me a more present and effective mama and wife and person. But because I am more regulated and because I'm unwinding these behavior patterns, which weren't even necessarily mine, like as Rachel was saying, some yes from this life, but some not. Many of it has been, I see it in the scan, our ancestral. And I'm doing this healing and this releasing. And it's just been really beautiful for me. And again, with my husband too, I've seen this like softening of him, you know. I think the masculine energy often is this denser energy. And I've been seeing this softer energy. Our relationship has become more coherent and tender. And I'm just grateful. I think that I just want to do a quick scan on my notes to see. I think I really covered though ultimately what is happening. Like I really consider myself a cycle breaker as a mama, you know, and this really has just been such an amazing tool in supporting me to continue doing that and to, you know, intentionally raise my son. So yeah, I'm grateful for Healy, and I'm grateful for the community and the support system and the beautiful people that I get to have in my life as expanders, due to saying yes to Healy. Because there's just so many layers of how we can use Healy. So anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you. That was amazing. I love hearing all of that. And I could hear it again and again and again. And next, we're going to hear from Kelsey, who's also another beautiful mama who's here to share some of her stories. So take it away.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys both for sharing so much. I came into Healy kind of similar to Rachel. Like I wanted it for my medicine cabinet, but I also wanted it for myself and my own. I knew my nervous system needed a lot of work, and I wanted to break some cycles similar to Jesse. And so I kind of like I got it on a whim, like as a treat to myself, but knowing that I would have it in my medicine cabinet. And I'm petting my cat here right now because anytime I'm wearing the Healy, my cat is on my lap. The animals, the babies, they all love it. But yeah, I will just go over, they covered so much of what I love as well. So I'll just kind of touch on a couple things that we do that maybe they haven't mentioned. One of the things that I think is so great. So I got the Healy for my nervous system, but also for like the physical sense, right? Like I wanted it in my medicine cabinet to be able to, there's so many needs like middle of the night or the weekend. And like Jesse was saying, your baby's fussy or your baby's crying up all night and you don't know why. You can run a scan and you can send your baby, you know, what frequencies they need. And there's been times my daughter's almost 1.5. She has been wailing in the crib, and I have ran the scan and sent her what she needs and immediately calm and back to sleep. Like mind-blowingly effective, in which as a mother, especially as a mother at any time of the day, that's helpful, right? But especially middle of the night after you've tried to put her down yourself, you know, 4 times. So it's just a beautiful tool in so many ways. There's been times we had her one time in a carrier and we had her in there ineffectively and she fell asleep and she had just started walking. And when we got home, we like went to set her down, you know, on her feet, and she just like would sit down on the ground. She would not stand. Like she had just started walking and she wouldn't even stand. And of course, as a mother, you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You know, how do we, you know, it was the weekend. We do see a chiropractor and just for like wellness prevention, but I'm like, it's the weekend. I couldn't get into him. And I ran a scan. I can't even remember what came up, maybe circulation or something with the muscles or connective tissue. And ran that on her. And a couple hours later, she was not only walking, but she was like walking better. She was like running down the hallway. She was like walking better than she had been before. So there's so many ways we've used it with the kids specifically. But I also loved what Rachel shared. Rachel is my beautiful mentor and coach that kind of got me into all of this. And she just recently helped me kind of create a client for my marriage and as a couple. And that has yielded so much growth in our relationship. Just, I think, you know, all relationships are just communication, right? How effectively can we communicate and with like honesty and like vulnerability. And I think when we have a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. So when you throw a couple young kids in the mix, it's like you just forget about what brought you guys together in the first place. And there's just been so many beautiful things that have come up for us in our aura scans. And we've even ran some coaches like what do we want our relationship to look like? Like, what is a goal for us in our marriage? And I'm a firm believer that like it starts at the top, you know, like you're as a husband and wife and a mother and father, like your kids, as Rachel was saying, like your nervous system, your emotional regulation is passed down, you know, and they feel that. So if we can work on ourselves, like they benefit from that as well. Another thing that we've been doing that has been really fruitful is like we run the aura scans on the kids, and then my husband and I will like go through and talk about them. So they are crazy accurate. Like I ran them on some friends before, and they're like, how in the world does it know that? Like, I don't know, how does it know that? And I don't know the answer to that, but it is crazy accurate. And so we will run through, and we've had some things come up, you know, for my son with, you know, his father, and then even my daughter. I remember one time specifically, it was like a week. I think my son was sick and I was really busy with some other things. And, you know, she was just kind of like second child, kind of getting neglected a little bit. And it came up something about like, I only feel love from the mother whenever I am hurt or need comfort. And I'm like, oh, convicted, you know? And just, so I think one of the things I wanted to touch on that hasn't been mentioned is I think there's just so much power in even just the scans and just that knowledge and awareness that you can gather from that, even before, like, that's without even having the ability to then send yourself the frequencies or send your child the frequencies that they need to help bring their body into that coherence. But there's so much power in just being able to read that. After I read that, I was like, okay, all right. And ever since now, it's like I make intentional time to hold her just because, and to love on her just because, not because her brother pushed her down or, you know, she fell and got hurt or whatever, but just to give her love because she deserves love at all times, not just when she's hurt or when she, you know, needs a little extra. So there's just been, yeah, we kind of almost try to have like little monthly meetings where we look at the kids' auras and we're like, all right, here's how we could adjust our parenting in the next couple of weeks to better support them and what they're needing. Because if it's coming up on there, like they can't tell us, right? Like they're too young. My son can kind of tell us, but my daughter can't. She can't tell us what she needs or where we are lacking as parents. And so I think for me, that's been one of the most beautiful things. One of the most beautiful parts of this tool for us, and just the ability to have it in our homes forever. Yeah, it's just been really great. So I'll leave it at that.
Amazing. I'm gonna cry with all these shares. I just want to say thank you for sharing, and thank you for just being so vulnerable, both of you, with all your shares. It's good to come together as mamas to, you know, want to just raise awareness of like all of the different ways that we can support our families, because we all want our families to be happy and healthy and supported and free and sovereign and all the things. So we're going to wrap this call up.
Can I just say two last things?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is, you know, everything that Kelsey was just sharing, as well as us as working with our kids. Something I hear a lot is that when kids up to 7 years old, they actually share their bioenergetic field with their mama. And it's like a slowly kind of developing of their own. And that also for me resonates as making a lot of sense for me. So not only supporting my own bioenergetic field to make it strong for myself, but I'm then kind of passing that on to my child, and it's strengthening his. And then the other piece I just wanted to share is that if you're listening to this and you're like, whoa, how do I get one of these? You know, you can of course contact whoever invited you to this call. And right now, when this call is in December 2023, and Healy always has some kind of promotion going on. They're a company that wants to raise the consciousness of the planet, and they're very generous, and the promotions each month are really beautiful and are there to help support people bring this into their homes. And so this month, one of our big promotions that I want to share about is So there's different models and different editions. And the professional is the one that has like, like the most programs involved. So I always suggest getting the professional. But this month, 35% off the professional, as well as what's called the Resonance Plus and the Resonance, which have just a few less programs. But you also get free gifts, which are invaluable. You get a free coil, which usually is a little over $200 to add. And this is what makes it so that it can go into your bioenergetic field. So it comes free, as well as there's a few programs that have been developed since the professional came out, and that's the Soul Cycle and the Natural Cycle, that are actually free. So usually you would have to, those are add-ons, which I have both, and they're both really phenomenal. Those come free this month with those models, as well as the 35% off and a case so that you can keep your Healy safe if you're traveling. So I just wanted to say that there's some, and this is actually my favorite promotion because it has those free gifts with it that you would typically spend $600 to $700 to get those extra add-ons. So you're getting 35% off and those extra add-ons, which are just so beautiful. So I just wanted to share that. If you are curious and interested, go ahead and contact whoever invited you to this call, and we will support you in, your Healy journey.